Okay, we're going to write this equation in slope-intercept form. The first important thing is that we kind of read the words and we know what's going on. So when I read through this, I come to this word origin. And what origin is saying to me is it's telling me that it's going through the point 0, 0. So it's giving me a point when it says that. Then I read along and I see that it says it forms a right angle. Okay, and what that means to me is that we're talking about a perpendicular line to this line. Okay, so that means I want a perpendicular slope. So my first step would be to rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form, find the slope, and then take the negative reciprocal of that. So if I take 2x plus 5y equals 7, I want to solve for y, so I'm going to say 5y equals negative 2x plus 7. I'm going to divide everything by 5. That's going to give me y equals negative 2x over 5 plus 7/5. Okay, so now that's in slope-intercept form, which tells me that this right here is the slope of this line. Okay, and the y-intercept is this right here. And I don't care about that y-intercept because it doesn't have anything to do with my new line, because my line doesn't go through that point. So if this is my slope, that means over here I want to use the slope to be the negative reciprocal of that, which would be 5 over 2. So that's going to be the new slope of my new line. Okay, let me see. So now that I can write my equation because I know it goes through the origin, which that also tells me that that's my y-intercept, and my y-intercept would be 0. So my equation is going to be y equals 5 halves x plus 0. I'm not going to write, so it could be plus 0, but I don't care about the plus 0 part, so I wrote plus b, but I'm not going to write that because it's plus 0, so it doesn't matter. So my final answer is y equals 5 halves x. Okay, so for this problem, I give you 2 points and I want to write the equation. So what that means to me is that I want to find the slope and I want to find the y-intercept. Okay, so we can easily find the slope by using the slope formula with these 2 points. Okay, so I'm going to find the slope first, and I'm going to do negative 8 minus 4, change in y or change in x, and then that would be 1 minus 7, which would turn into plus 7. Okay, so negative 8 minus 4, and then 1 minus 7. Notice I put the numbers in the same order as where I started. So I started at the second 2 and went to the first 2. I'm going to start with the second 2 and go to the first 2 in the denominator. Okay, so that's going to give me a negative 12 over 8, which I want to reduce. It's easier to reduce it. So that's going to be a negative 3 halves. So that's my slope. So write the equation of a line that contains these points. Write your answer in slope-intercept form. Okay, so that's the slope I'm going to want to use. Okay, now I want to find the y-intercept. So what I would do is I'm going to use the equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, so right now when I look at this, I know my m. So this is my m. And I have an x and a y. I have an x and a y. So I have an x and a y, or I have another x and another y. Okay, so instead of having an x and a y in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which point I use. I can use these 2, or I can use these 2. So my slope is negative 3 halves, so I'm going to, neither one is going to make this easier, because this is going to go with the m. So I'm going to use the second set, just because there's a 1 in the x slot. That might make it easier. All right, so I'm going to put the y as negative 8, and then I'm going to say, 1, whoops, that's the x, times the negative 3 halves plus b. Okay, now I'm just going to clean it up. So that's negative 8 is equal to negative 3 halves plus b. Okay, from here I can solve by adding 3 halves to both sides if I wanted, or I can get rid of the fraction. So I'm going to get rid of the fraction just because nobody likes to work with fractions very much. So to get rid of the fractions, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. That's going to give me a negative 16 is equal to negative 3 plus 2b. Okay, because remember we got to multiply the b by 2 also if we're going to do this technique. All right, now I'm just going to add the 13, or the 3 to the other side, which is going to give me a negative 13 is equal to 2b. And then I'm going to divide by 2, so b is negative 13 halves. Okay, the other thing again, I could have, if I wanted to, I could have taken and added 3 halves over here to negative 8, and that would have gotten me down to this answer immediately. I could have added I could have added 3 halves over here, and that would have gotten me that answer immediately, also getting a common denominator in that. But if I just did it another way. You could do it, if you want to do it the other way, it might be a little quicker. All right, so now I just write in slope-intercept form. So I'm just going to fill in the information. So I have y equals, and then mx, which is negative 3 halves, x, and then I'm going to say minus 13 halves because that's the b. And that is my answer in slope-intercept form.